Good evening. Good evening. My name is Beata Mastalers. Thank you all for joining us for this special Tree of Life commemoration. I would like to start today's celebration with a quote by Washington Irving. There is a sacredness in tears. They're not the mark of weakness, but of power. They speak more eloquently than 10,000 tongues. They are the messengers of overwhelming grief, of deep contrition, and of unspeakable love. Tonight, we come together in remembrance and reverence to honor those that we have lost and to celebrate the love, strength, and resilience of their families, caretakers, and communities. The tree of life symbolizes growth, connection, and enduring memory, a reminder that though our loved ones may no longer be with us in person, the light continues to shine in our hearts and our lives. As we reflect, share stories, and find solace in one another, let us honor their legacy by cherishing the bonds that unite us and the compassion that sustains us. Thank you for being here and for carrying forward the spirit of love and remembrance that brings us all together. And now I would like to introduce Chaplain Reverend Keely Garfield.
Welcome, and thank you all for being part of this Tree of Life commemoration. As we gather together this evening, we are enveloped by the quiet whispers of winter, a season that mirrors our journey through grief and renewal. Each person we remember has left an indelible mark on our hearts, their absence a poignant reminder of the love and connection we shared. In the gentle sway of the weeping willow, we see the embodiment of our tears. Its branches, like our hearts, bend under the weight of sorrow, yet they do not break. The willow's tears fall to the earth, nourishing the soil and preparing the way. Grief, like the bare branches of winter trees, reveals the depths of our bonds. It is a testament to the love that once flourished, now seemingly laid bare in the cold light of loss. Yet, even in this starkness, there is beauty and strength. The trees, though stripped of their leaves, stand resilient, their roots reaching deep into the earth, laying the groundwork for the promise of spring. As Khalil Gibran once said, when you are sorrowful, look again in your heart, and you shall see that in truth you are weeping for that which has been your delight. In our sorrow we find hope, hope in the memories that warm our hearts, in the stories that keep their spirit alive, and in the legacy of our loved ones that they have left behind for us. Their lives, though ended, continue to inspire us, reminding us to cherish each moment and to live with purpose and compassion. Nature teaches us about interdependence and resilience. Just as trees rely on the soil, the water, and the sun, we too rely on each other for support and comfort. In our shared grief, we find strength in our community, and together we honor the memory of those who have passed away. We celebrate their lives, their achievements, and the love they shared. Let us carry forward their legacy by embodying the values they held dear and by supporting one another through our shared sorrow. We find that grief and gratitude can sit at the same table. Let us now join in prayer. Dear God, we ask for comfort in our grief, strength in our frailty, and peace in our hearts. May we find solace in the memories of those we have lost and courage to face the days ahead. Let us be a source of support for one another, nurturing the bonds that sustain us. May we honor the memory of our loved ones by living with compassion, with kindness, and with gratitude. As the trees stand tall and resilient through the winter, may we too find strength in our roots and the promise of new growth. As the rivers flow steadily, may the sacredness of our tears cleanse and heal us. As the sun rises each day, may we find renewed hope and light in our lives. Amen. In closing, the poet Tagore said, "Trees are the earth's endless effort to speak to the listening heaven." Let this gathering be our way of reaching out, and let us send a message of love to those we have lost. Though they are no longer with us in body, their spirit lives on in our hearts. We cherish the love they gave us, the joy they brought into our lives, and the lessons they taught us. May their memory be a blessing. I now hand it over to Jill Sidella.
Good evening. Thank you, Chaplain Garfield and Beata, for your beautiful words to open us this evening. I'm Jill Sibelia. Phelps has been hosting an event to honor and remember loved ones for more than 30 years. These include those who we served in Phelps Hospice, in our hospital, and across our community, and those dear to us. We're grateful to have this opportunity to gather this evening to hear stories, enjoy music, and honor those who are dear to us. We know this is a commemoration we're sharing with those across our Phelps family. So thank you for being a part of tonight's gathering and for part of our family. Many of you chose to remember a loved one by adding a leaf to our tree of life. We shared those earlier in the program. Those will also go on our chapel, and the leaves will remain all year, and you can visit them at Phelps Chapel. They will also be on our website on our virtual tree of life. The musical piece you heard earlier while we played the names is an original composition from harpist and Phelps volunteer Jill Scherer. It's called From Sadness to Hope. Our volunteers are a really important part of our Phelps family, and we are grateful for all they give to us, including the gift of music. So thank you to Jill and all of our volunteers. One of our programs that's supported by volunteers is the Thomas E. and Alice Marie Hales Caregiver Center. It's my pleasure to introduce my colleague, Gabby Naranjo, who leads our center. Gabby is going to introduce tonight's family speaker. Gabby?
Thank you, Jill. It is an honor to be here, to remember the lives of the patients we've cared for, and to hold space for their families and loved ones. Our Caregiver Center is here throughout the caregiving journey, often from initial diagnosis, through each outpatient visit, throughout each hospitalization, through the very end, and even after loss. It is my privilege today to introduce you to this year's family speaker, a woman who welcomed me into her life and shared her caregiving journey with me throughout each step. Thank you, Edie Cohen, for sharing your story tonight.
I'm Edie Cohen. I'm here to speak about my husband, Don, who passed away this past February, and how grateful I am to Phelps Hospital and their wonderful staff that helped us through this journey. Don and I were teenage sweethearts. We met when I was 15 and he was 19. We dated a few years till we married. We would have been married 64 years this past January. Don was always interested in cameras and film. He was a director of photography and member of the motion picture industry through the years, working with big agencies filming commercials. We said he saw the world through the eyes of a lens. Eventually, we opened a facility in downtown Ossining, producing commercials for businesses in the tri-state area and cable companies. Don and I shared the love of travel, visiting museums and theater. We've lived in the Ossining area for almost 40 years and raised our children here. We have 2 married sons who live close by with their families and are very supportive to our needs. We've been patients of Phelps Hospital all that time and have witnessed the growth of a small hospital to what it is now. Several years ago, Don was diagnosed with multiple myeloma, which is hard to detect early because symptoms are sometimes mistaken for normal aging. It appears gradually. We were directed to see Dr. Kamarowski, who is Phelps' head of hematology oncology. She and her terrific staff were so helpful throughout his care, including the infusion department. Eventually, we had to do palliative care and hospice. Dr. Anand and the whole team were amazing, helpful, and always available when needed. The numerous times he was in the hospital, the emergency room, I thank all the staff throughout this. Through all this, I was a caregiver for Don. I needed a safe place to find a support group. I contacted Phelps again and was directed to the caregivers program that's run by Gabby Naranjo, our social worker here, who is a wonderful, caring person. This program helped me tremendously, making new friends, sharing my feelings, and I wasn't alone. After Dawn passed, I joined the bereavement group, also run by Gabby. I still attend the meetings of both groups. I am so grateful for Phelps to provide these support programs. Thank you all, Phelps Hospital, and all the staff for your help in my time of need.
Thank you, Edie Cohen, for those beautiful words. I'm Dr. Michelle Espinoza. I'm the Director of Palliative Care here at Phelps. And I want to share one quote because this is what I feel would idealize what Edie Cohen signifies in that sacred moment that we're able to be there for our patients. And it's by Mark Anthony. And it says, "One day she discovered that she was fierce and strong and full of fire, and that not even she could hold herself back because her passion burned brighter than her fears." And I say that because of the courage that Edie just showed and demonstrated to make that video for all our families and their loved ones, and the courage that they demonstrate to be there for their loved one in a time of unexpectedness, in a time of pain, in a time of fear. These are times that are held sacred for us, and especially us here at Phelps. It is not always something that we may prepare for, but in those moments when we are faced with this is where we hold on to our compassion, our humanity even closer. In this time of the holidays where everybody is preparing and perhaps looking into different things, we may not be feeling that light inside of us, and it may be feeling like a moment of darkness. But know in those moments that we were there at your bedside. You provided that light to us by showing your love, by advocating for your loved ones, by demonstrating that life matters and life occurs every step of the way. We here really want to carry that. It's sacred to us to be there at that time, in those moments, that even though we cannot change what that outcome may be, as much as we may have tried, we can always demonstrate that love, that light, that even when it feels dark inside, know that that light will shine through. That light will be present. That light are those that have lived and now are no longer with us, but that light shines continuously within us. And so I changed the quote now to say, and one day we discovered that we were fierce and strong and full of fire, and that not even we could hold ourselves back because our passion burned brighter than our fears. Let the passion and the love of the ones that have passed continue to shine brightly within you. And I thank you for allowing us to take care of your loved ones during this time. Thank you. And Chaplain Reverend Keely Garfield, can you please take it over? You're muted, Keely. You're muted.
It is my honor to offer the passing of the light.
Thank you for that. I'm Amy Matthews. I'm the Chief Nursing Officer at Phelps. And thank you to the team for the beautiful, beautiful words. I am going to read We Remember Them. At the rising sun and at its going down, we remember them. At the blowing of the wind and in the chill of the winter, we remember them. At the opening of the buds and in the rebirth of spring, we remember them. At the blueness of the skies and in the warmth of the summer, we remember them. At the rustling of the leaves and in the beauty of the autumn, we remember them. At the beginning of the year and when it ends, we remember them. As long as we live, they too will live, for they are now a part of us. We remember them. When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember them. When we are lost and sick at heart, we remember them. When we have decisions that are difficult to make, we remember them. When we have joy we crave to share, we remember them. When we have achievements that are based on theirs, we remember them. For as long as we live, they too will live, for they are now part of us as we remember them. And I'm going to turn it over to Father Ron.
One of my favorite passages from the Bible comes from the second section of the book of the prophet Isaiah. This section was written after the nation of Israel had been conquered, Jerusalem was destroyed, many of their loved ones had been killed in battle, and the others had been taken away in captivity. They were understandably devastated by all of those things. Their whole world had fallen apart, and their situation seemed hopeless. After the death of a loved one, we can all relate to that feeling of devastation. But the message of the prophet Isaiah is just as valid for us today as it was 2,600 years ago, when he said, "Comfort, give comfort to my people." This was not so much a promise as a command given to people who were suffering terribly. The Almighty doesn't wave a magic wand from heaven to make all our problems disappear. The Almighty calls on every one of us to comfort one another. That is why gatherings like this, as well as other support groups, are so important. People in pain help to ease the pain of one another. Just by being there, sharing the pain, and holding one another up. But in the midst of suffering and death, we can also turn to our faith for comfort and for help. So I invite you now to turn to the God of love and consolation and ask, Lord, pour out your spirit of compassion and love upon us. Renew our strength. Refresh our spirit. Heal our troubled soul. Make us instruments of your peace. And help us to fulfill your command to bring comfort to one another. Amen.
you.